Netflix Backtracks, a Vision Pro upgrade, and advanced data protection for iCloud. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by our Patreon subscribers. Get access to the MacVoices Slack, the MacVoices Discord, MacVoices After Dark, and have your name listed at the end of each episode of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is Talk of the Apple Community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, it's MacVoices Live, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. We are on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We wish you were here too. We have some of our friends in the chat room already, more coming. We want you in there as well. So please join us. If you're hearing this in the feeds, mark your calendar for Tuesday nights and come on in because we always have a great time. I do want to start out the show just a little differently tonight because I got an email. Actually, I got an email and I got a comment on YouTube that I felt like I should talk about just a little bit. And that
do
is
I need to issue an apology?
No apologies here. No apologies here. But I think it's important to maybe just make sure that everybody that cares understands that one of the things I have worked very hard to try to keep these discussions nonpartisan from a political standpoint. And when I say nonpartisan, I mean that you don't automatically say, I'm for party A or I'm for party B, and therefore the other party is stupid. Okay, that just doesn't advance anything. So I feel like we have not had any problems calling out situations from a fairly objective standpoint when we think they are wrong, incorrect, sometimes uninformed. I'm thinking about some of the discussions we've had about the position certain European organizations have taken with regard to Apple and censorship, as well as what the FBI did a number of, I guess now it's a couple of years ago now, trying to ask Apple for backdoors. We have called out senators and congresspeople for their positions when they are less than informed. And that's the way I really intend to try to keep this. The reason I'm bringing it up now is these two emails talked about the political climate and the fact that they think basically, they both said the same thing, that they feel like it's time that, things really get political because of the situation that the way they perceive it is occurring. And I don't see it that way. I see no benefit to that. If any of our panel members want to do that, they're free to do it on their own shows or on their social media. That's great. But here, I want to try to keep it just to the facts. I have no problem calling out anybody from either party or any other country when they do something that is dumb. And we will get to some of that tonight, something that is in the news right now that is just sort of dumb. But for those of you who feel like we should be taking a stance for or against now or later, we've tried to avoid that. I will continue trying to avoid that. And that means if I have to, I will edit things out because it just does not add to the discourse. We have too much fun here, and I think we make too many great points to let that be diluted. So if you disagree, please drop me an email, chuck@macvoices.com. But I can tell you now that you're probably not going to change my mind. If you want to point out examples, that's great, and maybe we will talk about them on the show. But if it's just that I should be rooting for party A or party B, or I should be condemning party A or party B, not going to happen. So that's my position on it. Our panel knows it, and we've talked about it a number of times in our private Slack. And I assume that they're okay with it because they keep showing up. Either that or they just have nothing else to do on Tuesday nights. I'm not sure.
We have a Slack.
So, thanks, yeah. So that's the end of the speech. And I'm sorry to even have to bring it up, folks, but it just feels like it's kind of necessary because the world is it's hard to believe, it's becoming more and more politicized. Yeah. With that, I'll let you know who showed up tonight. And if it's their last time here, then I'm sorry, but it's nice to have them tonight. So top left, as always, Mr. Dave Ginsburg. Dave, good to have you.
Good to be here, Chuck. Glad I could be here. As always, looking forward to the fine conversations we'll have tonight, and we'll keep the politics out of it.
Agreed. Thank you, Dave. Top right of my screen, Mr. Eric Bolden with a rather large bird. Either that or it's a very zoomed in picture, one of the two.
Yeah, they're really pretty tiny. It's a dark-eyed junco tonight, sitting in a ginkgo tree.
Junco.
Yeah, usually they'll go hopping around on JUNCO. They usually go hopping around under shrubs and bushes on the ground, at the base of feeders. But this particular one likes sitting in a tree, staring in the window, saying that's why it's all puffed out. It was like -8 when I took the picture.
Okay, that's a new one. You didn't take this through the window, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was from this morning. Yeah, it was -8 outside. I was not outside this morning.
Okay.
I said, who's gonna show up and pose for me? And yeah.
All right, fair point. Good to have you, Eric.
Nice to be here.
Marty Jencius is here too. Marty, I know you've been a little under the weather, so I deeply appreciate you showing up.
Yeah, I've been nursing a cold. Well, actually, it was a one-day cold, which I woke up this morning actually feeling pretty good. Yesterday, when Eric and I did vision profiles, I was full-blown cold. And, the problem is I spent years in commercial radio, so I have become pharmacologically resistant to about anything you can put in my body. And so it's hard to take anything over the counter to fix it. But I woke up this morning, miracle gone. So good to be here. Have a great time.
So pharmacologically resistant, is that because you have taken too much or you've done it recreationally or what's the story here, Marty?
Marty,
Yes.
as
I wouldn't
legal
answer that.
advisor.
Yeah.
Yes. What Webb said.
It's part of the job description if you read carefully. So
Marty, statute of limitations.
Oh yes.
Showing up next in this bottom center of my screen is our favorite groupie, Mr. Webb Bixby. Webb, it's good to see you sporting a T-shirt from one of your favorite bands.
Good to be here. And after we get through rock and roll chat, we can go ahead and talk about another talk of the Apple community, as we like to say.
Should we ask why you picked the Tubes of all bands?
Because
it was the sweatshirt that was on top.
Oh,
and because we're all white punks on dope, as the Tubes would say.
Who are pharmacologically resistant. Yes.
Resistant,
okay.
yeah.
And there's a show title.
Pharmacologically resistant. Yeah. I wish we did show titles because we've had some good ones the last couple of weeks. Last but absolutely not least, playing an attorney for Marty Jencius is Jeff Gamet. Jeff, it's good to have you back.
I'm happy to be here, and I feel that I need to share that pharmacologically resistant is my Dead Kennedys cover band name.
Well done. Well, the first one I wanted to start out with, we talked about this last week. I'm sorry Ben's not here because he was kind of excited over it. And then we found out that it was a mistake, that Netflix is not adding Apple TV integration. I don't know what to say. I mean, it obviously is easy to do, or maybe it wasn't easy to do, or it was easier than they thought, but now they've pulled it back. Does this make any sense to anyone?
No,
Netflix.
They said,
Not at all. How did this happen? I mean, how did,
boring.
Oops.
Well, Netflix just did a great job of showing how easy Apple has made it to use Apple's own tools to add functionality to your own apps. So Netflix has been intentionally avoiding tying into the hooks in Apple's code, and then they accidentally did, and used this as an opportunity to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. They could have just rolled with it and said, yeah, this is a great new thing we're doing. You're welcome. But instead, they're like, no, it really was a mistake that we gave you something you've been asking for years, and we are taking it away. Well done, Netflix.
Jeff, that was the thing that got me, is that it's something that has been asked for so long. And I think a lot of us figured it just was difficult to do. And so they proved it was easy to do and then canceled it.
Isn't it a hostage negotiation tactic too, where you give somebody something for a short period of time and then you pull it away? So I think maybe that was their attempt. We're all hostages.
That checks out.
Okay, Marty, but I'm struggling with it because I'm trying to find. When this happened, I was trying to figure out what the downside is for Netflix to having things integrated into Apple TV. Yeah. And for the life of me, I can't come up with a negative.
I can't either.
Oh, go ahead, Marty. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just affirming what Chuck said.
The negative that I think is there for Netflix, at least from their perspective, is that if they use the hooks that Apple just gives developers for free to use, if they use those, then that limits some of the information that they can collect on their subscribers, and they do not want to give up any of that information. So by pulling the feature back out that they accidentally enabled, and it's probably about as simple as doing a checkbox in Xcode. Well done. They showed that they really, really do not have an interest in giving users what users have been asking for years. What they care about is what can they extract from us.
Jeff, I confess I didn't even think about that possibility, and it seems like that's what it boils down to so often. Now, we don't know that for sure, but the possibility, because it's what everybody seems to want to do, is take everything they can get from us. The only speculation I had was that does Netflix not want to compete with have their programming compete directly on the same platform with Apple TV Plus? That's the only thing I could come up with. And if Netflix is the 800-pound gorilla. So why would it be worried about that?
Yeah, and why would you feel like making it more difficult for your users to access your content? Why is that a benefit?
Well, they don't want you to leave their content.
Well, there is that. So, yeah, I suppose if you have to go into the Netflix app to do anything, then you're less likely to look at content in other places from their perspective.
I'm sure that's what they're thinking. Just stay here and don't ever look at anything else.
That commentary is from Jim Rea, who has just joined us. Jim, it's good to have you. You got here just in time. Jim shrugs.
And thanks for joining us this week. That's been MacVoices Live.
This is also an audio podcast, Jim. The shrugs don't help.
I think it was an arched eyebrow, actually.
Well, whatever works. Whatever works. The next one is for our Vision Pro owners. And that is that Apple will reportedly get Apple Intelligence as soon as April. And so, let's see, Dave, Marty, Eric, did I miss anybody? Webb doesn't have one. Jeff doesn't have one. Jim doesn't have one. So what are your thoughts on this? Is this an important thing for Apple Vision Pro? Does this push it up into the next level? or is it just something that you think is being tacked on because they can right now?
I think they need to talk about Apple Intelligence.
Yeah. No, I think, in my opinion, I think it's to generate more interest in Vision Pro, because you don't have Apple Intelligence on it right now, and there's I've been going through it and checking apps and doing all kinds of other things with it, and it's got some amazing things. But I think Apple needs to move forward on the Vision Pro and start adding some of the features that all the iPhone and iPad users are experiencing now. So I think it's a smart move on their part. They're saying that's going to be in Vision OS 2.4, so that means it's not too far off, because we're at 2.3.1 right now. So that would probably be my opinion as far as what their reasoning is. Everybody's really high on AI right now. Believe me, I'm talking about it at work. It seems like daily. I mean, and why not put it on the Vision Pro? I mean, if it's got that, then you got some endless possibilities of what developers could take on using that technology too.
It was the media that said Apple Intelligence is not coming to Vision Pro. It was never Apple that said it. Apple rolled out Apple Intelligence on their largest products and with their largest product line, and whatever they have to do to get it onto Vision Pro, we're last in line, but we're still in line. And I think what they've been doing with Vision Pro and with Vision OS is they're giving us kind of little things along the way. First, it was hand gestures. Then it was, actually a big thing in terms of the virtual screen that you can do with your MacBook, so you can operate it through there. And now we're adding in Apple Intelligence. To what degree, to what set is going to come and how it's going to work in Vision Pro, we don't know yet. But they're saying here, we're putting it on this platform too. We're still committed to the platform.
And realistically, if at some point Apple gets glasses out, that's for sure going to need some sort of intelligence interaction. So this is a good way to kind of get it out and practice and work with it. And they've had enough time now to kind of more efficiently get everything squeezed in. So it makes sense to have it there. I'm not sure what exactly it will be doing, but having a device that's got eye tracking and for me, I guess anything that lets me avoid having to use a virtual keyboard is a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so the one thing that surprised me, and it's going to come across as a criticism, and I don't mean it that way, but it seems like just also this week we heard that Siri, the Apple, the S lady, the enhanced version, the AI version of the Apple Intelligence version of the S lady is not going to come as early as expected. Now, once again, there were no hard dates, so this is just the media. But at the same time, I felt like, okay, so on one hand, things are being pushed back. On the other hand, they're rolling this out now. So maybe this is its original timetable. But Apple Intelligence has been criticized as not being complete or feature complete in comparison to some of the others. So did it make sense to push it over into the Vision Pro? Or is it just, you think, okay, since it has some parity to other versions or other Apple platforms that may not be quote unquote feature complete?
I have a thought on this, but Marty, I will wait for you.
We have seen Apple Intelligence in the Vision Pro already. There's all sorts of ways that the AI is being used, including the translation piece or the live translation. Those things are really kind of specific to the platform, and it fits the platform very well. So I don't think it's going to look the same across all platforms. So the fact that they're rolling out some version of it on OS while they're still working on the S Lady, again, Apple's maybe not first to the punch, but they want to be right, not first. And I think they're they're figuring that out along the way. The only people that are whining about this are the media and the critics. Users are just, it's going to happen when it's going to happen, and it will be right, hopefully, or as right as it can be when it happens.
Yeah. Eric, anything to throw in before we turn Jeff loose?
No. I agree with that. Let's.
Okay. Hey, Jeff, before you do, I just want to point out that we just saw the combination to web safe written down on that pad on his desk. So
No, you didn't.
What have I told you about saying things like that before we actually do the break-in?
So close.
Yes.
Man.
So Jeff, what are your thoughts?
Okay. If you want to have a feature really get adopted by your users, a feature like this, you need to make it available on all of your platforms. And you need to have a core set of features where there's parity across everything. Now, each device will get its own things just because of the type of platform it is. But you need to have that core that goes across all the devices. You don't want your users having to think about, well, I'm using an iPhone right now, but I'm going to use my Vision Pro in next, and so that means that I need to stop thinking about how I'm going to use Apple Intelligence because I'm switching devices. It should just be a thing that's transparent to users, and so even if we don't have a full feature parity thing going on yet, it needs to be there so that users start to feel comfortable about the idea that it doesn't matter what Apple device they pick up or put on, they have access to the Apple Intelligence that they expect to be there.
Excellent point. And trying to get used to it. I mean, Dave was saying he's talking about it almost every day. And if you keep any kind of RSS feed, I mean, it is just filled with developments in large language models, AI, as well as quote unquote Apple Intelligence. So it's moving fast, and it feels like sometimes the only way to keep up with it is just to jump into the stream and swim and find out. And so the fact, I'm with you, Jeff, the fact that it's in the Vision Pro will just encourage that many more people to try it on a platform, and then maybe try it on another platform. So maybe if it's on the iPhone, maybe they'll try it on the Vision Pro. If it's on the Vision Pro, maybe they'll try it on the Mac. I don't know. We shall see. Marty, anything else?
To follow the parity thing that Jeff was talking about, I think what we'll see on Vision Pro first will be notification and message summaries, as well as maybe some smart editing options that go into content as you develop it. So that would be something you'd see similarly across all the platforms as AI, Apple Intelligence, comes out.
Yeah, so when it gets there, we expect a report from you three. Let us know how it works.
Sure.
The next one is more of a PSA than anything. 9 to 5 Mac did a nice little video on advanced data protection for iCloud. And I think we've touched on it a little bit. We haven't touched on it a lot, but they do a great job of discussing where your data is encrypted, how it's encrypted, whether it's encrypted in transit, when it's encrypted at rest, and also if you want to use the advanced options for iCloud, how to turn them on. And so I just wanted to point this out. I'm curious, has anybody here turned this on? Have you noticed any performance hits or anything in any way, shape, or form?
Chuck, not everyone can turn this on. And I'm putting that out as a PSA. If your Apple ID is old enough, it actually doesn't support two-factor authentication. It supports two-step authentication. If you can't enable two-factor authentication, then you can't turn on this feature.
Good point. Thank you. Eric?
The only other thing I noticed is if you've got multiple devices, you can turn it on from one device, and then when I hit other devices, I had to individually turn things on those devices. So don't assume because you turned it on in one spot, it turned it on across all of your devices. You still have to interact.
Which I kind of like the idea that Apple is not reaching into my device and turning something on. I in some ways, it would be very convenient if they did, but the fact that they aren't.
If you turn on one and you assume, oh yeah, everything's encrypted, so now I'm all set. It's not really explicit. It doesn't say, hey, this one device has this feature, but you've got 5 others that don't.
Yeah. Anybody else have having any experiences with it, good, bad, or indifferent?
Been okay for me. I haven't had any major issues.
Okay. That's good to know. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.